Jesus Christ. Where do I even start with that? Gutting! Sunderland win by 3-0. We've signed a brand new winger. Brian Brobby is still an absolute beast. You've got Diarra, who's like a new signing, running the show. When you've got Chemsdean Talby. Wait for it. Do you know what? I know what he did. Wait for it. He scored a Jamsarny copyrighted Thunder Bastard. That's exactly what happened. So where do we start? In fact, no, I know where to start. Hit the like button if you're buzzing. If you're a Sunderland fan, maybe not so much if you're a Burnley fan, because that leaves you in a pretty shitty space after that after that defeat, but I don't care. And subscribe if you are new. There's still so many of you guys that are watching the videos. You're not yet subscribed. I hope you're enjoying particularly this one, because everyone's happy tonight. What an evening it's been. So if you can subscribe for me, it's totally free. It'd be massively appreciated. But we will start off with that 3-0 win. I might sort of shorten it down a little bit. I won't go into too much detail because we do need to touch upon the new signing as well. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. But let's get started with this game. So as you can see here, this was the starting 11. And I'm not going to lie, I did have a bit of a bitch and a moan about it. Not too much, but I did think to myself, in what realm does Rodgers look at the last experiment with humour as a right midfielder and think, let's do that one again? Do you know what I mean? I thought, why is he doing this? And it wasn't even necessarily just because it was humour. It was more so because I felt like he was putting round pegs in square holes and just forcing the situation unnecessarily when we really didn't need to. When you've got the likes of Mayenda on the bench who can play as a right winger, or if he was going to put Hume towards the centre, you've got Dietrich who can add to it. But I'll happily admit that it actually paid off massively. And not to downplay the win in any way, because as you can see, I'm buzzing my little jebs off. But if we're going to be totally honest, we didn't even have to get out of first gear tonight because Burnley were just simply that bad. And again, it wasn't like we were absolutely incredible. It was just we were just better than him. End of story. You know what I mean? I'm trying to stay somewhat level-headed whilst we're at least appreciating how happy I am and how happy it's made me and what a good result that is. But like I said, we didn't really have to get out of first or second gear. Do you know what I mean? Which is, it's a good sign. It shows the sign of a good team. And of course, it keeps that unbeaten record going at home, which is, it's mental. We're now in February. I had to double check them. We're in February and it is still going strong, and it is proven to be such a vital part of our season so far. And I think that win as well sticks us back in the top half and in 8th, if I remember correctly. Let me just quickly check. Yes, we are currently in 8th on 36 points and the Mags are on 33. So we carry on with the game and we start off, and like I said, they didn't really have anything. They didn't have a shot on target throughout the game, so I'm not going to try and be almost overly respectful to Burnley and say that they had half chances, because they just simply didn't. Our centre-backs dealt with Foster and the wingers quite well. You know, Anthony on one side a couple of times got down to the byline, but that was pretty much it. That's the sort of story there. You know, Ballard was winning everything in the air. Alderete was fantastic, although there was a handful of moments, particularly in that first half, where Alderete did his sort of trademark dummy when he looks like he's about to clear the ball away, but then he'll dummy his man and take him on, which is great. But then there's the simple pass that's on. He's took on his man. He's took on the man that's pressing him. So I'm thinking, just give the simple ball. You've done the hard bit. Now give the simple ball. But then he'll try and be clever again with a dink, or he'll even go backwards with a dink for no reason, like a reverse pass for no reason at all. And he was giving it straight to Burnley players, and that become a little bit of a frustration. However, we did start to control the game, or at least we looked very threatening going forward. I actually think Burnley may have had more possession by the end of the game, but it was just every time we went forward, we looked so threatening. And at first, Burnley didn't defend horribly. It was just once the first goal went in, they just absolutely collapsed. And I do feel for those Burnley fans, because they just give nothing after that. And it was Diarra who did get the first goal. It was Brian Brobby down the right-hand side, who did so unbelievably well. Yet again, you cannot understate the performances that he's given at the minute in terms of a hold-up striker. And I know I've said it again a million times. I genuinely think he's the best in the league at what he does. And I'm not just saying it because we've just won 3-0. I've said it with draws and defeats as well. He is so good at what he does. Just pump the ball up top. And the buzz I get when I see a defender try to shoulder barge that lad just for them to balloon straight off him. It is just so unbelievably strong. But yeah, so for the first goal, ball's down the right-hand side. Nice bit of work there. Robbie holds his man, turns him and flicks it into the path of Diarra. This is something we've missed from the midfield. Someone to just run in late and run past the man. And he just drove into the box. He sort of stumbled a little bit, hits the ball eventually. It's a bit of a scuffed shot, really. It looked like it was going to go wide in the end, but it did take a deflection and beat Dubravka, sent in the wrong way to make it 1-0. It was unfortunately actually given as an own goal after that. But then Diarra gets another, and this one, without a doubt, is his goal. This time it's Mukiele bombing down the right-hand side. He puts in a ball, and it's Diarra again arriving late in the box and then beats Dubravka again. And to be fair, it wasn't the best of efforts. It did go straight at Dubravka, but he's parried it into his goal. Not that I give a shit, but it made it 2-0 and we saw it out. And we still made chances, second half. Again, it weren't perfect, but we were making chances. There was one where I think it was Diarra again, bombing in, coming in from right to left this time, drives into the box. He slides it over to Brobby, who just rolls his man beautifully, waits for the moment, waits for the opportunity to present himself. And this time, Dubravka makes an outstanding save, and I think the follow-up was blazed over the bar. Now, with Chemsdean Talby, right, I saw a handful of people online saying that he wasn't getting forward enough in terms of attacking his man. Now, my comment back to this, and I was going to say this in the video anyway, I actually noticed it very, very early on because, of course, Talby was up against Kyle Walker. Yes, he might not be the Kyle Walker that we saw years ago at Manchester City, but he's still a very, very experienced, quality, strong, pacey right back. And what I noticed very quickly with Talby, he saw almost immediately, and I saw it. There was a couple of times in the opening 5 minutes he tried to go for him, man for man, try and take it past him, and it wasn't working. And sometimes when that happens, you need to take an initiative and try something different. And I noticed within 5-6 minutes, he started to sit inside as opposed to flush up against Walker. He was almost tucking in to one of the centre-backs, because Burnley had 3 at the back at the time, to sit in one of those pockets. And he was having a lot of joy, and he was dropping deep and getting the flick-ons. So he was basically doing what he knows he can't do and try and take it straight past Walker. So I actually appreciated that, because I think someone like a Simon Adingra, who has now finally gone out on loan to Monaco, which we are going to get into, if that was Adingra, he would persist with trying to run at his man and run directly into Walker and lose it again and again and again. But like I say, Talby took initiative and he was tucking himself inside and moving himself into a place where he knows he'd be more dangerous. And what happened? Lo and behold, Chemsdean Talby gets it on the left-hand side, and you can see Walker there, you can see the centre-back there, and he kind of stood still, and no one's really pressing him. Then he kind of looks up and double takes and thinks, shit, I've got a bit of space here. So he drives, and then the strike, a ferocious strike, just pings into the top right-hand corner, in off the crossbar. An absolute thunder bastard within itself. It was gorgeous to make it 3-0, and then going into the end of the game, it was just easy for us, really. We were strolling about, made a few half chances here and there. I think for the last 10 minutes or so, we did bring on the likes of Isidore. Hirtrauder came on. He made a couple of nice little challenges and nice passes, which was nice. After, of course, all these rumours and all this transfer news that's been going on surrounding him, it was nice to see him get on the pitch. Mundell came on as well, who I think did quite well, and then O'Nien with a couple of minutes left, he came on as well for Alderete. So we managed to get a few players, a bit of time, bit of minutes in the legs, and all in all, like I say, to kind of sum it up, we didn't get out of first gear and we won 3-0, so we'll take it. An absolutely outstanding win, a great way to bounce back from last time out, and I'm just so proud of the lads. Fantastic, because yeah, Burnley are where they are, but as I said in the preview to the game, They will have been, and they should have been desperate, and I expected a lot more from Burnley. I didn't expect them to be perfect or sort of outclass us, but I expected the sort of aggression, determination, and press that I've seen them so many times this season. And they did have that to a degree, but then, like I said, as soon as that first goal went in, they just collapsed, and it was shambolic from their point of view, but for us, it was absolute dreamland. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing with that one. In terms of my man of the match, I think it'd be easy to give it to either Diarra, Brobby, or Talby. I want to give it to Brobby, I know Diarra's come in, he's like a new signing. He scored one goal, one of them's been chalked off as an own goal from Swansea, who, if any of you who watched from many years ago, he was a very famous player on this channel when I used to play FIFA career mode. But I'm going to give it to Brobby. He just does the dirty work so well, and tonight he did it in abundance. And I feel harsh because Talbot scored an absolute screamer, and Diarra had a masterclass as well. But just me personally, I just love seeing those performances from Brian Brobby. So I'm going to give it to him. He does the selfish work so well and so much, and it can go a little bit under the radar sometimes, but he put in a hell of a shift. As did a lot of the players. And Troy Hume as well, fair play to him, who was getting a lot of flack after the last game, myself included, but he put in a very good performance. You know, he can do the dirty work, obviously, because he is naturally a right back, but he does link up quite well with Mukiele at times. I just thought, you know, for a more natural winger to be on, I thought that would be the better option, but we still won 3-0. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the game. Let me know down below how you feel. As a Sunderland fan, I'm sure you're very, very happy. But yes, moving on to the signing. So there's a few things that were in the balance before this game, which I was keeping my eye very close on. Very, very close on. So we had a few things what we had to do. So we had one loan spot free. And what was happening was Adil Al-Shish, who was at Aberdeen, we had to recall him, and then we had to send him out on a permanent, because then it would free up that loan from where he was and then send him out on a permanent. So he's actually got an incredibly good move out of this. So then we could let Adingra go out on loan, and then in turn we can buy the winger Angulo. Because obviously if Adingra stayed, we wouldn't need another winger, even though I still think we did need one. But the club, of course, they're thinking we don't want to sit on the amount of wingers we are. So Adingra has gone on loan to Monaco. I believe there is there is a clause, there is an option to buy at the end for around 17.5 million, which is about a 3 million loss on what we paid for him. So slightly annoying, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. But then we've spent almost that exact amount on Angulo. I believe it's around 15 million quid and then 2 million in euros, something around that ballpark. Now, it's not another one. It is another one of them, should I say, that I don't know loads and loads about. But the second we got linked with him, the second I saw the reports, I watched a load of videos on him, and again, it makes him look absolutely incredible. It's very different when you watch a player in a 90-minute game as opposed to highlights, but he does look a hell of a player. He does look a hell of a player. We are buying him from Anderlecht. He's a left winger. He loves to cut in from left to right. But what I do love from the highlights that I have seen, not only does he have the flicks, the tricks, and the skills to cut in from left to right and go for goal, he's more than happy and more than comfortable going to the byline and crossing it with his left foot, which is something we haven't seen with a lot of our wingers. It's usually one or the other, isn't it? So he can be quite unpredictable. And this season for Anderlecht, I think he's got himself a good handful of goals, sort of 6 or 7 goals, and then 4 or 5 assists already. And I did actually have a little chat with quite a well-followed Anderlecht fan page just to get a bit more insight. And he or she did tell me that he is generally considered the best player in the squad and has been absolutely outstanding. And I don't want to downplay the standard of their league. I know that the Premier League is a totally different division and a different level, but I did ask if he thought, or she thought, it is a fan page, so I don't know whether it's he or she. I did ask whether they thought Angulo could potentially make this step up to the Premier League, and they said absolutely. So we could have a star on our hands, but what I do find amusing is that we've just signed a left winger, and then Talby goes and says, all right, watch what I can do, and then pulls off that tonight. So, yeah, a really, really good evening. I'm very, very excited to see Angulo in Sunderland colours. He is an Ecuador international as well, only 22 years of age. So, another potentially high-quality player in there, an exciting one at that. So, yeah, that's everything, guys. I'm going to leave it there because I'll end up rambling on for far too long. I'm too excited. I'm stumbling over my words. But that's what happens when Sunderland win 3-0 and I witness a thunder bastard. So, I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you've enjoyed, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. But for now, however, lads, stay jammy.